Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Tonight we begin with Pakistan, where unrest and security challenges are spreading. Protests have rocked POK, that's Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and a deadly blast has struck Quetta in Balochistan. We look at why this is happening and how the crises are piling up. Meanwhile, in Washington, they have finalized a peace plan for Gaza. Donald Trump has unveiled a 20-point plan. What does it propose? And can it bring peace? We'll break it down for you. In the world of tech, ChatGPT is growing bigger. It's a lot more than an AI bot. It is now adding payments. But the question remains, what about regulation? Hollywood has a new problem. Donald Trump wants to slap tariffs on movies. Will it really make Hollywood great again? In China, they've announced a golden dome that covers the entire planet. We'll tell you what it's about. Also tracking India-Canada ties, do we finally have a post-Trudeau reset? In Afghanistan, the Taliban has shut down the internet. In India, the race for weight loss drugs is picking pace, with Ozempic getting the green signal. And a special report on why India's art market is booming. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Protesters in Madagascar hold new demonstrations as the police fire tear gas to disperse the crowd. This comes a day after the president sacked his government. It was a bid to quell the unrest, which has killed more than 20 people, but the protesters want the president to resign as well. Poland arrests a Ukrainian suspect for his alleged involvement in the bombing of the Nord Stream gas pipelines. In 2022, a series of blasts under the Baltic Sea damaged the pipelines meant to carry Russian gas to Europe. Western countries had accused Moscow of sabotaging its own export route. South Africa's ambassador to France has been found dead outside a Paris hotel. A probe has been launched to determine the cause of the death. On Monday, the ambassador's wife had reported his disappearance. The official was a close associate of former South African President Jacob Zuma. Sri Lanka's inflation rises to its highest level in 14 months. The surge is being fueled by higher costs for food, health and education. The country's central bank says it expects prices to rise further. 3 years ago, inflation in Sri Lanka hit a record high of 69.8%. And in Indonesia, a building housing a religious school collapses, killing at least 3 people. Dozens more are feared to be trapped. The incident took place on Monday on Indonesia's main island of Java. Earlier this month, 3 people were killed in a building collapse in West Java. Pakistan has one mood, and that one mood is crisis. If it's not financial ruin, it is a military coup. If it is not a coup, it is a protest. If it's not a protest, it's an insurgency. This is a country that hurtles from one crisis to another. But this time it's different, because all the crises are hitting them together. There's unrest in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, POK. There's an insurgency in Balochistan, there's a flashpoint at the border, and the economy, it's as bad as always. Which makes you wonder, is Pakistan's leadership losing its grip on the country? Actually, let me rephrase that. Is Asim Munir losing his grip on Pakistan? Let's look at what happened in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This is a part of Kashmir illegally held by Pakistan. On Monday, massive protests broke out there. Thousands of people hit the streets of POK. The government responded with a brutal crackdown. They fired water cannons and tear gas at the protesters. Take a look at this. At least 3 protesters were killed, plus over a dozen were injured, and this happened across POK, in Muzaffarabad, in Mirpur, in Rawalkot, and in Neelam. But what triggered it? What triggered this protest? These protests were organized by a group called the AAC, the Awami Action Committee. They have listed 38 demands to the government. Some of them are quite basic, like subsidies on flour and electricity. Others are more complicated, like abolishing the refugee seats. You see, the POK Assembly has 53 seats. Out of these, 12 are designated for refugees, basically people who come over from Jammu and Kashmir. The protesters say this is unfair. They accuse Islamabad of hijacking the system, of appointing their proxies to these reserved seats. And this is just one issue. POK has long-standing grievances with Islamabad. They pay taxes, but they don't get the benefits. Most of their resources are siphoned off by Islamabad. Consider hydropower. On paper, POK generates enough electricity for itself, but the power bills are higher than anywhere else in Pakistan, so the local leaders are fed up. They announced a shutter-down protest from Monday. Thousands flooded the streets with slogans and flags, but the government hit back. They called in additional troops from Punjab. They also deployed 1,000 riot cops from Islamabad. All entry and exit points were blocked, and finally the internet was cut off. You saw the crackdown that followed. Fearing more violence, the shutdown has been called off, but a second round is slated for October 15th. So this standoff is far from over, and it's not Pakistan's only challenge at the moment. Today, a deadly explosion ripped through Quetta. This is the capital city of Balochistan, yet another restive region of the country. Around noon, a car bomb exploded in Quetta, that too outside a paramilitary office. The attack was captured on a nearby CCTV camera. You can see the vehicle turn around a corner and then explode. Take a look. Officials say 10 people were killed in the attack, plus 30 others were injured. 6 of them are believed to be critical. And who is behind this attack? Well, Balochistan is home to violent separatist groups. They have launched multiple attacks in recent months. But Pakistan is not blaming them. Their president says the TTP was behind this attack. The TTP is the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Or simply put, it is the Pakistani Taliban. And the president did not stop there. He also pointed a finger at India. Let me quote the statement from his office. President Asif Ali Zardari strongly condemned the Quetta attack by Fitna-e-Khawarji, acting on India's agenda. Pakistan's, its people and its security forces shall prevail. In case you're wondering, Fitna-e-Khawarji is another name for the TTP. But more importantly, how is this India's fault? The TTP has ties to the Afghan Taliban, the same Taliban that you cultivated and armed. So this is not India's agenda. This is the outcome of your terror sponsorship. And it's become a trend. Whenever there's an attack, Pakistan blames India. Remember the Jafar Express attack? Baloch insurgents hijacked an entire train. They killed more than 30 passengers. Even then, Pakistan pointed fingers at India. It's basically a cop-out. Asim Munir cannot stop the separatism. He cannot prevent the attack. So what does he do? He distracts using India, either by blaming India or by attacking India. And frankly, it's not a surprise. Nobody in Pakistan does the job they're supposed to do. The Prime Minister is busy serving the army chief. The army chief is busy doing politics, and the army is busy containing the opposition. In the end, it's the Pakistanis who suffer.
Immediate end to the war itself, not...
We're taking a critical step, ending the war in Gaza.
It's official. Donald Trump has a peace deal for West Asia, an ambitious 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza. He announced it last night after a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu was at the White House. He has agreed to Trump's plan. Hamas is yet to give an answer. World leaders are welcoming this new deal, and the Arab world is watching from the sidelines. But, as all things Trump, the devil is in the detail. And there are a lot of details in this one. So what exactly does this plan promise? Will it actually work? Will it end the war in Gaza? Let's break it down for you. First, the peace deal proposal. Like I said, it has 20 points, so it is quite the elaborate plan from Team Trump. But at the heart of it is a Gaza that is terror-free and modernized, more like a Dubai light. And how will they get there? If you boil down the 20 points, there are 5 core promises that this plan makes. Promise number 1, a complete end to fighting. Hostilities will stop immediately. Israeli forces will pull back in stages. Hamas will give up its weapons. Its members will be granted amnesty. Those who wish to leave will be granted safe passage. So Gaza becomes a buffer zone. It will be policed by something called the ISF, the International Stabilization Force.
And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it, to demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others to deal with Hamas. And I'm hearing that Hamas wants to get this done too, and that's a good thing.
Promise number 2, a prisoner swap. Hamas will release all the hostages. Currently, there are around 20 Israeli hostages held in the Gaza Strip. Hamas will release all of them. And in return, Israel will release detained Palestinians, around 2,000 of them.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
Number 3, an international takeover. Gaza will be governed by a temporary transitional government. This will be a civilian administration. They will look after the day-to-day operations. And who appoints them? Well, that's the responsibility of an international body, the GITA, the Gaza International Transitional Authority. It will be established by the United States. Donald Trump says he will chair it. But who will be heading the body? Most likely it will be Tony Blair, the former UK Prime Minister.
To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world and Israel and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want, is some extra work to do, but it's so important that I'm willing to do it, and we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, good man, very good man, and some others, and they'll be named over the next few days.
Promise number 4, economic reboot. Trump has promised uninterrupted aid as soon as the war is over. This aid will flow into the Gaza Strip. It will be followed by a Trump economic development plan. This includes investments and development ideas for Gaza that would create jobs and other opportunities. A special economic zone will be established, which brings us to point number 5, the future of Gazans, the future of Palestine. Earlier, Trump talked about moving Gazans out of the Strip. But this new plan does not say anything like that. In fact, it mentions that no one will be forced to leave. Instead, Gazans will be encouraged to stay back, to make the most of the new opportunities being created for them. There's also a line about Palestine. It says, the plan says, if it works out, it could be a credible pathway for Palestinian statehood, a separate state for Palestine. That's what Trump's peace plan says. But will Israel agree to it? Well, Benjamin Netanyahu says he's on board, but his endorsement comes with a firm red line: no Palestinian statehood. Now, Trump's plan leaves a door open for self-determination, at least down the road. But Netanyahu has made it very, very clear that Palestinian statehood is a no-go. Although for now he's playing along, he's going with the plan. But history tells us that Netanyahu is a master of last-minute changes. Past deals have collapsed because he introduced new demands at the last moment.
שאלה שנשאלת, האם הסכמתם למדינה פלסטינית?
ממש לא. זה גם לא כתוב בהסכם. אבל דבר אחד כן אמרנו, שאנחנו נתנגד בתוקף למדינה פלסטינית. הנשיא טראמפ גם אמר את זה, הוא אמר שהוא מבין את זה, הוא אמר באו"ם גם שזה יהווה פרס עצום לטרור וסכנה למדינת ישראל, וכמובן שאנחנו לא מסכימים.
Which brings us to Hamas. It has not issued an official response yet, but the plan does not leave the group with much of a future in Gaza. Hamas will have zero role in governance moving forward. Remember, this group was created as a movement built on resistance. That's how they started out. So laying down arms does not exactly sound appealing to them. They may accept parts of the deal, but it's hard to imagine that Hamas will agree to dissolve the group altogether. Trump says they have 3 to 4 days to accept this deal, else it will be a very sad end.
How long do you plan to give Hamas to respond to the ceasefire proposal you put out?
Well, we're going to do about 3 or 4 days. We'll see how it is. All of the Arab countries are signed up. The Muslim countries are all signed up. Israel's all signed up. We're just waiting for Hamas. And Hamas is either going to be doing it or not. And if it's not, it's going to be a very sad end.
Across the globe, leaders have lauded this new deal. Arab leaders have praised it. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi too has welcomed it. Prime Minister Modi has called it a viable pathway to long-term and sustainable peace. There are also reports of India being part of the ISF, the International Stabilization Force. Israel was asked about this, and it says, it is up to India to decide, which brings us to the main question. Will this deal work? Will it deliver peace? I guess that is up to the stakeholders right now. Also, diplomats may draft maps and frameworks, but Israeli bombs are still falling on Gaza City. Ceasefire plans are only as good as the willingness of both sides to stick to them. So Trump's Gaza plan may be bold, but history is unforgiving in West Asia, where every deal looks good on paper until it meets the politics of survival. We'll have to see how this one fares. If you haven't noticed, ChatGPT is not a chatbot anymore. It is slowly creeping into every corner of our lives. Your work, your school, your shopping, even your daily news digest. And now ChatGPT is moving into payments too. That's right, the AI is about to handle your checkout. It's a feature that OpenAI recently announced. It is called Instant Checkout. It will let you buy products directly through ChatGPT. And it has already been rolled out by Shopify merchants and Etsy sellers. They have OpenAI's Instant Checkout, which means you won't have to open another browser. You won't have to find a checkout page or enter your cart details. ChatGPT will handle all of it for you. All you have to do is tap Buy. You tap Buy on ChatGPT and you talk to the bot. Now they're selling it as a win-win. For users, it is seamless payment, zero fees, no price changes. For OpenAI, it is another revenue stream. Etsy shares have jumped by 16% after the announcement. Shopify was up by 4.5%. So investors clearly like this idea, the idea of an AI that does not just talk but also sells. And this expansion by OpenAI is not limited to commerce. OpenAI is also introducing ChatGPT Pulse. This will be a personalized daily report of news and updates. It will be tailored just for you. So it's a way to get users to check ChatGPT first thing in the morning. Basically, what ChatGPT is doing is the classic tech dream, one app to rule them all. But dreams like this rarely remain innocent for long. And here's where things get tricky. ChatGPT is facing multiple lawsuits. Lawsuits over dangerous advice and harmful content. A teen died by suicide after talking to ChatGPT, a 16-year-old boy. He told the bot that he was having suicidal thoughts. His parents say the chatbot validated his thoughts. It encouraged him to end his life. So they have filed a lawsuit against OpenAI. It's the first legal action accusing OpenAI of wrongful death. So OpenAI has now rolled out parental controls. Parents can link accounts to teens. They can opt for stricter safeguards. They can monitor the content that their children consume. The AI can even alert parents if it detects serious emotional distress. If there's emotional distress in the child, the AI will alert the parent. All of this sounds good until you realize what it really means. OpenAI is putting the onus of safety squarely on parents. It's the same story that tech giants have been telling us for years. Facebook did it with social media. YouTube did it with video. Now ChatGPT is doing it with AI chat. Building tech that is unsafe for children and then holding parents responsible for their safety. In the meantime, AI itself has evolved. GPT-5 is the latest model of OpenAI. It includes a new feature. A feature called Safe Completions. It is designed to answer sensitive questions carefully, instead of refusing to respond outright. So you will get an answer, but a more considered, a more responsible one. Meanwhile, a routing system can detect sensitive conversations mid-chat. Once it does detect a change, it switches to a more sensitive model. But this model often runs into problems. It often stops working, this sensitive model. OpenAI itself admits that the system is not perfect. And here's the bigger picture. ChatGPT wants to do it all. It wants to be your search engine, it wants to be your assistant, your shopper, your newsfeed. But when things go wrong, when risks appear, who handles it? You do. The onus is always on you, never on the company that built the system. And here's the thing, nobody's saying stop innovating, nobody's saying slam the brakes on AI. The world needs progress, it needs breakthroughs like this. But here's what we don't need. The same old story that we've seen for decades. If ChatGPT wants to be a super app, then it also has to be accountable when things go wrong. It can't just sell the dream and outsource the nightmare. Because innovation without responsibility is not innovation at all, it is exploitation. So yes, build the future, build the super app, but build it with guardrails that you enforce, not ones that you hand off to exhausted parents or unsuspecting users. Donald Trump is on a mission. His goal is to tariff as many things as he can. He's done goods, he's done visas, his next target is movies. That's right, Trump has floated the idea of tariffs on foreign movies, that too 100% tariff. First, listen to his reasoning. Our movie-making business has been stolen from the United States of America by other countries, just like stealing candy from a baby. In order to solve this long-time, never-ending problem, I will be imposing a 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside of the United States. Well, here's a silver lining. It is not an order yet. Trump has only made the announcement. Other than that, it's all downhill. He's talking about a broad and significant crackdown. And notice the words, Any and all movies, basically any movie made outside the US will get a 100% tariff. The idea is to make Hollywood great again. Naturally, the statement has triggered confusion. For starters, a movie is not a good. You cannot tax it at the port of entry. So where and on what will you charge 100% tariff? Also, what qualifies as made in America? Say the movie has a Canadian or British actor, or maybe a scene or two shot in India, or maybe some graphics designed in Japan. Will those movies also attract 100% tariffs? It's not clear at the moment. If Trump does impose this tariff, there will be a White House order. Only then will we get some clarity on it. Until then, let's look at this business model. Is Hollywood really dying? And are tariffs the solution? Also, how will it affect foreign film industries, especially the Indian industry? Now, to be fair, the problem is real. At one point, virtually every big production was done in America. Forget America, it was done in Hollywood, Los Angeles. They had the talent and they had the infrastructure. But now things are different. Movie making is more diverse. The likes of Canada, the UK, New Zealand, Ireland, Hungary, they've all emerged as alternatives. And there are two reasons for this. One is the mounting costs in the US. Whether it is to build up a set, or to hire extras, or to pay technicians, the costs are out of control in the US. Secondly, these new locations offer incentives. Some countries give tax cuts, others offer health care to workers, and these are things that attract movie studios, especially now with the rise of streaming. Production budgets are tighter than ever, so experts say every single dollar counts, and it's true that America has been hit. The US logged $14 billion in production spending last year. $14 billion last year. It was 26% down from 2022. The state of California also realizes this. They are handing out tax cuts worth $750 million to production houses. That's double from last year. So to sum it up, yes, the problem exists. Hollywood may not be dying, but it does not have a monopoly like it did before. Which brings us to the second question. Are tariffs the solution? I'm sure you've guessed it by now. No, tariffs are not the solution. The logistics alone are a nightmare. What if your script demands a scene in Romania? Do you recreate Romania in Los Angeles? Surely not. As always, Trump is using a hammer instead of a chisel. You can't force studios to make in America. You must incentivize them. Clearly, Donald Trump does not understand that, which brings us to the last question. How will it affect the Indian film industry? Indian movies generate between 800 to 1,000 crore rupees from the US, which is around 112 million US dollars. The US makes up 35 to 40% of India's overseas box office. It is the largest foreign market for Indian movies, and that is at risk. Most Indian films are shot within the country. Even if it's outside, the US is a rare location. Meaning all those movies could attract 100% tariffs. On paper, this could double ticket prices. So simply put, it is a worry for the Indian movie industry. But like I said, Trump has not issued the order yet. We'll have to wait and see if he pulls the trigger. Though looking at his track record, it's only a matter of days. Imagine a shield that covers not just a city or a country, but the entire planet. A network so vast, it can detect missiles mid-flight from thousands of kilometers away. I know it sounds like a sci-fi dream, but China says it has the prototype similar to the Golden Dome of the United States. And the name can be misleading. It makes you picture a literal dome floating in the sky. That's not what the Golden Dome is. It is a high-tech, distributed early warning system. It is designed to detect, track, and analyze threats in real time. So what will it look like, and will it actually work? Our next report tells you.
At its core, China's Golden Dome isn't a bubble in the sky. It is a distributed early warning system. Think of it as a global radar, not confined to one screen in one room, but powered by thousands of digital eyes across land, sea, air, and space. Satellites, ocean buoys, radars, aircraft, even ground sensors, all feeding data into one massive platform. The goal? To track not just a single rogue missile, but 1,000 launches at once, from anywhere on Earth. In plain terms, if someone fires at China, the Golden Dome wants to know instantly. Here's the twist. The dome isn't just about more satellites or radars. The real breakthrough is data. Traditionally, every military system spoke its own language. Ships, ground radars, satellites. Stitching them together was a nightmare. China says it's cracked that code. Its system fuses every fragment into a single real-time picture. Basically, plotting flight paths, sorting warheads from decoys, separating threats from noise. And it claims to do this even under cyber attacks and electronic jamming. Now here's why this matters. This is the first missile defense prototype to claim planet-wide coverage. The U.S. Shield, by contrast, is a patchwork: interceptors in Alaska, radars in Japan, bases in Europe. China's prototype, if it works, leapfrogs that. Instead of regional defense, it offers one unified net from pole to pole. And in geopolitics, coverage is power. If you're an adversary, you're not just asking, will my missile hit Beijing? But you will also be thinking, will it even stay undetected for more than a few seconds? That doubt alone shifts the calculus of deterrence. Now, this Golden Dome idea is not really new. The US had proposed a similar plan earlier this year. The budget for that was $175 billion. The vision was simple: a global missile defense system with layers of interceptors on land, sea, and in space. But there's a problem. Even US generals admit the architecture isn't settled, and defense contractors are squabbling over how to handle the sheer flood of data. Meanwhile, China claims its Golden Dome is already prototyped and reportedly tested by the PLA. But every shiny dome has its cracks. China's system, by its own designer's admission, is still a prototype. It is a work in progress. It needs scaling, fine-tuning, and real-world stress tests, especially against hypersonic missiles and stealthy threats. And here's the paradox baked into missile defense. The faster you build the shield, the faster your rivals build arrows to pierce it. Data integration may leap forward. Algorithms may get smarter. Sensors may multiply. But no system is ever truly invincible in the chaos of modern warfare. So, for now, the Golden Dome is China's message to the world: we are watching. Every launch, every movement, every threat, seen, tracked, and accounted for.
"2025 has been a strange year for India's foreign policy. One of our most important partners turned against us. I'm talking about the United States of America. But do you know what's even stranger? Our reset with America's northern neighbor, Canada. When Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister, it sounded impossible. He single-handedly sabotaged this relationship, but his successor is doing better. That's Prime Minister Mark Carney. Unlike Trudeau, he is a pragmatist, and he has brought that approach to his ties with India. We saw proof of that yesterday. India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar met his Canadian counterpart in New York. The Canadian Foreign Minister, her name is Anita Anand. Jaishankar says he had a good meeting with her. He also said he's looking forward to her India visit. The dates are not out yet, but Anand is slated to visit in October. And this thaw is not random. It's been building up for a while. Canada made the first move earlier this year. They invited Prime Minister Modi to the G7 summit in June. There was a lot of speculation around Carney snubbing Modi, but at the last minute, he did invite the Indian leader. In fact, they also had a meeting on the sidelines. Both leaders gave the green light for a reset, and the officials ran with it. On August 28th, India and Canada appointed new high commissioners. Then, in mid-September, a Canadian team visited India. It was led by their national security advisor. Her name is Nathalie Drouin. And here's the interesting part. She was part of Trudeau's government as well. Last year, she leaked sensitive information against India, information that suggested an Indian role in the murder of a Khalistani. But 1 year later, she was here in India, not to sabotage ties, but to rebuild them. Clearly, the political climate has changed. The question is why? There are three main reasons. The first is the ideological difference. Like I said, Carney is a pragmatist. He hasn't abandoned the investigation started by Trudeau, but he's handling them better. The second reason is Donald Trump. He has imposed a 35% tariff on Canadian imports. He has also joked about annexing Canada, making Canada the 51st American state. Now, both these things will worry Carney. So what's he doing? He's turning to other alternatives. The Canadian Prime Minister has cozied up to the European Union. Similarly, he's resetting ties with India. And the logic is quite simple. If America does not support Canada, they need other options. Options like the EU and India. Which brings us to the final reason why we are seeing a thaw. A late realization in Canada. Let's go back to the root of this crisis. Several Khalistanis have found refuge in Canada. These are violent separatists wanted in India. But for decades, Canada has hosted them. Throughout this time, India reminded Canada of the risk. These Khalistanis may target India today, but tomorrow they will turn to Canada. They will stir trouble inside Canada. That's what India has been saying, and that's exactly what is happening. This year, Canada published a new security report. It highlighted the risk of Khalistani terrorism. In fact, their national security advisor made a rare admission this week. She said collaborating with India would create safer streets in Canada. And this goes beyond just Khalistanis. Several Indian gangs have set up base in Canada, like the Bishnoi gang from Rajasthan. This gang is led by a man called Lawrence Bishnoi. It has been linked to 50 attacks in Canada, 50 attacks. And we're talking about serious crimes here, like arson and shooting. Several provinces have begun complaining about this gang, so now Canada has taken action. Prime Minister Mark Carney has listed the Bishnoi gang as a terrorist entity, meaning their assets will be frozen, their activities will be banned, and their properties confiscated. If you're caught collaborating with them, you will be punished. Like I said, it's a late realization because India has been saying this for a long, long time. Cracking down on Khalistanis won't just help India, it will help Canada in the long run. Let's hope they have finally realized that. Our next story is from Afghanistan, a country battered by years of war, economic crises and repression. It has been hit by another blow now, a total blackout. For a second consecutive day, Afghanistan is under blackout. Millions of people have lost internet access, mobile phone services have been cut. This has left flights grounded, bank services suspended, businesses disrupted, and freedoms of millions of Afghans further restricted. Here's our report.
For years of Taliban rule, a battered economy, increasingly restricted freedoms, and now a total blackout. In the latest blow to millions of Afghans, Taliban authorities have cut internet and mobile phone services in an unprecedented countrywide crackdown. It started on Monday. Afghanistan lost almost all internet access, but both mobile and wired internet were suspended. Telephone services were disrupted across the country, and internet traffic stopped almost completely, grounding flights and suspending bank services.
The effects of the network shutdown in Afghanistan are very wide-ranging. I think the economic impact of network shutdowns is massive, especially in this day and age.
Afghanistan is home to about 42 million people. As of 2023, 18% of the population was using the internet, and more than half had mobile subscriptions. So from business owners to government employees, and even girls taking online courses to bypass a ban on education beyond the 6th grade, the internet is central to people's daily lives. But now, millions of Afghans are living under a communications blackout for a second day.
Everyone is upset. We have relatives. We were in contact with each other. Now that the internet is down, communication is also dead.
We want the internet to be back on because we have business, trading. How can we contact people?
Why is this happening? The Taliban administration has not given an explanation. But this is part of a larger pattern. During the Taliban's long insurgency, they regularly targeted cell towers. They forced mobile internet providers to leave Afghanistan. In the last months of the war, they imposed localized internet shutdowns. Since then, the Taliban have widely restricted access to news websites, which oppose their rule or deem immoral. About 2 weeks ago, the Taliban shut down the internet in more than half a dozen of Afghanistan's 34 provinces. They said that they wanted to limit the misuse of internet and prevent immoral acts. But this is the first time the Taliban has cut communications across the whole country. Experts say it may be their attempt to curb so-called vices. But it's also the regime's attempt to disconnect Afghans from the rest of the world, to suppress the people. After all, this shutdown is the latest in a series of restrictions, which the Taliban have enforced since returning to power. There are strict restrictions on women and the freedom of expression. The Taliban have purged books written by women, blocked girls from studying, and women from working. There is a new ban which has outlawed the teaching of human rights and sexual harassment. Even chess is banned in the country, which the Taliban say encourages gambling. Afghanistan is facing one of the world's biggest humanitarian crises. And now, the blackout threatens whatever economic stability remains by hampering essential services like payments and hurting businesses. For millions, this is not just the loss of connectivity. It is the loss of livelihood, education, and freedom. So after being battered by years of war and repression, as Afghanistan enters yet another uncertain chapter, as people wonder how much they can endure, the digital silence speaks volumes.
Our next story tonight is about the so-called wonder drug, Ozempic. It is finally coming to India. This blockbuster drug is made by a Danish pharmaceutical company called Novo Nordisk, and it has received the approval to launch Ozempic in India. Ozempic is a weight loss drug. It is an injection. It was first developed as a diabetes treatment, but it also cuts weight dramatically. You see, this jab suppresses your appetite. It makes you feel full. So you eat less and burn more energy, meaning you lose huge amounts of weight rapidly, which is why influencers are going gaga over it. Celebrities are using Ozempic and doctors are prescribing it. Ozempic has more than 7 million users the world over. Last year, it generated global sales of over $17 billion. And now it is set to enter the Indian market. Some details are still unclear, like the launch date or the price of the drug. These details have not been disclosed yet, but one thing is clear, Ozempic is eager to enter India because this market is a gold mine for weight loss drugs. India has 101 million people with type 2 diabetes. India also has 254 million people living with obesity. So the weight loss drug market is huge. It stands at about $70 million today. It is expected to reach $100 billion by 2030. This is a big number, but not a surprising one, because a mad rush is already underway. Currently, the Indian weight loss market is led by two pharma giants, two global rivals, Eli Lilly, the US pharma giant, and Novo Nordisk, the Danish company we've been talking about. Eli Lilly is the maker of Mounjaro, which is another weight loss drug. It is prescription only. You can get it only with the prescription of a doctor. And it costs about $160 a month. Then there is Novo Nordisk. Like I said, this is the maker of Ozempic, which is yet to be launched. And they also make Wegovy. This too is a prescription-only weight loss jab. It costs about $200 a month. So different drugs, different prices, but one thing in common. They all have what's called GLP-1. GLP-1 molecules are hormones. They get released after we consume food. They tell the brain, these hormones tell the brain when to make us feel full. Now, Wegovy and Ozempic have this hormone in the form of semaglutide. This is a drug. It dominates the Indian market. It owns about 2/3 of the market share. It is valued at $45 million. But next year, semaglutide will lose its patent protection in India. The patent is expected to expire in March next year. And that will be a game changer. Because then, once the patent expires, generic drug makers will jump in. In fact, a lot of Indian players are set to enter the market. They will produce cheaper weight loss drugs. They will offer more options. And this will, of course, be good news for the consumers, but it will be bad news for the leading pharma giants Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, which is why both of them have been scrambling to capture more of the market before the patent expires. Eli Lilly launched Mounjaro in March this year, and in the first 5 months, it recorded sales worth $17 million. Meanwhile, Novo Nordisk launched Wegovy in late June, and within 3 months, it has achieved sales worth more than $2 million. Now, Ozempic is all set to jump in and shake up the market. But before you jump on the bandwagon, do know this. Amid all the buzz and the ever-increasing range of choices, there are also risks. Yes, weight loss drugs like Ozempic make big, bold promises, but they also come with major side effects. Side effects which often remain buried in the fine print. The most common ones are diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. But reports also show side effects like acute gallstone disease, stomach paralysis, blocked intestines, pancreatic disease, suicidal thoughts, womb cancer, and even eye damage. Dozens of people have taken weight loss drugs and ended up in hospital with lifelong medical problems. So behind all the glamour and buzz, behind the promises of rapid weight loss, lurk risks that cannot be ignored. So if you're looking forward to Ozempic, before you get caught up in the hype, do your research. Speak to your doctor. Speak to a doctor you trust. And make sure it's the right choice for you, because when it comes to your health, sometimes the real miracle drug is choosing safety first. For our last story tonight, let's talk about art. It is having a tough time. Auction volumes are down, values are low, and global art sales are falling. Last year, they saw a 12% dip. The year before, they saw a 4% fall. From China to the US, from France to Italy, art, like I said, is having a tough time. But not in India. Here, the art market is booming. This week saw the sale of the second most expensive Indian artwork. This comes a few months after the most expensive Indian artwork was sold at an auction. So what's behind this trend? And what does the Indian art market look like? Here is a report.
Art is what you make of it. Whether that means creative pursuits, treating art as a collector's item, or even as an investment. Take Amrita Sheargill's The Storyteller from the year 1937, for instance. It was up for auction in 2023, when it went for $7.45 million. This was a new record for a work of art by an Indian artist on the auction block. Until this year, when the late renowned painter M.F. Hussein's Gram Yatra of 1954 was being auctioned at Christie's in New York. It was estimated to be worth $3.5 million. It was chased by 5 bidders, and finally sold for a whopping $13.8 million, making it the most expensive Indian modern artwork sold at an auction, globally. And this week, a work of art by V.S. Gaitonde has become the second most expensive Indian artwork sold at an auction, fetching $7.5 million. Now, these are record-breaking works of art. But they tell a larger story. India's art market is booming. There is no single figure that sums it up, but there are signs. Apart from the famous painting sales, according to Artsy, which is an online art marketplace, Indian artists saw the largest surge in demand on their site in 2024. In fact, total auction sales from India's biggest houses, from Pundols to Christie's and Sotheby's Mumbai, sales have more than doubled between 2020 and 2022, going from $41 million to $92 million. And this is not just about auction houses. Take any big Indian city, Delhi, Mumbai, or Bengaluru, and you'll find a vibrant art scene, with massive art fairs. They have seen major growth over the past decade. New art centers and exhibitions have also opened up, further boosting the art market. Why is this happening? Experts say that the biggest reason is India's economy. Barring the pandemic years, India's GDP has grown annually at an average rate of over 7% since 2009. With this, the appetite for art has increased as well. This is happening while art markets in other major hubs are facing challenges. Last year, global art sales plummeted by 12%. They fell for a second consecutive year. Sales fell in almost every region. China was most affected, seeing a decline of 33%. The US, the world's largest art market, decreased by 9%. Meanwhile, both France and Italy saw a decline of 10%. But in India, art consumption is increasing, and domestic as well as international buyers are flocking to auction houses to get their hands on India's so-called modern masters. The group of famous painters including M.F. Hussain, Souza, and S.H. Raza. So, while the global art market faces a slowdown, India's art scene is thriving, driven by economic growth, rising demand, and a renewed appreciation for Indian artists. If the current trend is anything to go by, this is just the beginning.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. US federal police carry a protester into the Portland ICE facility as demonstrations continue. Storm Gabriel floods the streets of Spain's Ibiza, and a Mexican biologist survives a shark attack in Costa Rica. Also taking you back in history, on this day in 1868, Louisa May Alcott published the first volume of Little Women. The book would go on to become her first bestseller and a timeless children's classic. Much like her heroine, Jo March, Alcott grew up in a family of 4 sisters, facing struggles that shaped her writing. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
geschäftsführenden Direktoren,
Hindi,
$36 ट्रिलियन का कर्ज है।
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan
Italian,
sekali radikali.
Japanese, Portuguese,
Por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select the language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.